Hello, this is Mrs. Hulse with an explanation of the Unit 3 reflection. So please make sure you've read all the summaries, Theme 7, 8, and 9, and the summaries and done the two first assignments before you do this. And also read the Judgment of the Nations, which I've included in the reflection. And I'll read it to you in a minute. And then there's some links to look at to give you some ideas to answer the questions. So the Judgment of the Nations comes from Matthew 25, verses 31 through 46. So when the Son of Man, that was Jesus' name, one of his names for himself, when the Son of Man comes in his glory and all the angels with him, then he will sit on the throne of his glory. All the nations will be gathered before him, and he will separate people one from another, as a shepherd separates the sheep from the grains. And he will put the sheep at his right hand, and the goats at his left. Then the king will say to those at his right hand, "Come, you that are blessed by my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me food. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you welcomed me. I was naked, and you gave me clothing. I was sick, and you took care of me. I was in prison, and you visited me." Then the righteous will answer him, "Lord, when was it that we saw you hungry and gave you food, or thirsty and gave you something to drink? And when was it that we saw you a stranger and welcomed you, or naked and gave you clothing? And when was it that we saw you sick or in prison and visited you?" And the king will answer them, "Truly I tell you, just as you did it to one of the least of these, who are members of my family, you did it to me." Then he will say to those at his left hand, "You are accursed. Depart from me into the eternal fire prepared for the devil and his angels. For I was hungry, and you gave me no food. I was thirsty, and you gave me nothing to drink. I was a stranger, and you did not welcome me." Then they also will answer, "Lord, when was it that we saw you hungry or thirsty or a stranger or naked or sick or in prison and did not take care of you?" Then he will answer them, "Truly I tell you, just as you did not do it to one of these, the least of these, you did not do it to me." And these will go away into eternal punishment, but the righteous into eternal life. That's quite the reading. But it's all about what we need to do in the world, how we can help people, what we're supposed to do as Christians. Okay, so it has in it right there, "I was hungry and you gave me food. I was thirsty and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger and you welcomed me. I was naked and you gave me clothing. I was sick and you took care of me. I was in prison and you visited me." Now, if you've been reading my news, last week and the week before, I put some prayers in and some information about Catholic Canadians and what they've done for our country and for the church. Kateri Tekakwitha was one of them. Father Lacombe was another one. Saint Marguerite Bourgeois was another one. And there was another Saint Marguerite. And all these people did something to help. And so they can be a role model for us. There's also links there for ideas. And then there's two questions. Number one, what are some ways, so always answer in an organized, reflective paragraph. What are some ways that you can become Christ's hands and feet by feeding the hungry, welcoming the stranger, visiting the sick and imprisoned, and clothing the naked in today's society, especially in this pandemic time? So that's quite the question. Number 2, what did you learn about how God revealed himself to the Jews and later the Christians? What ways can you keep God close to you? Okay, so make sure you answer both parts of each question for your reflection. Thank you. And put it in Dropbox.